Hi, it's Trish and Just So Trish. This is my first I am a homeschool mom bio, and it's about me. So, here we go. Um, what was your life like before homeschooling? My life, before I began homeschooling, well, let me go back. I always knew I wanted to homeschool, and I'll talk about that why later. But I always knew I wanted to homeschool my kids. Even when I was in college, before I was married, and before I had children. By career, I was an engineer. I studied as an environmental engineer, and I worked as a civil engineer. And so before homeschooling was a lot of work, and then I stayed home, and there was a lot of diapers, and then it was homeschooling. How long have I homeschooled, and who? So I've been homeschooling now. My daughter's 10, and I started homeschooling her when she was 4. And I definitely ran into, even though I always knew I wanted to homeschool, I ran into insecurities. I ran into being overwhelmed by my curriculum and quitting, and literally quitting and sticking her into pre-K at the middle of the year. The following year, I was going to get it done. I went to another, I pulled new curriculum. It was going to be better. In fact, I tried to do the same curriculum over again because I was going to make it better. And, no, I was going to do a different one. And I literally was exhausted. I had, at the time, 4 kids. And one was under a year old. And I exhausted myself, and my expectations were so high for kindergarten. And being out, 5 years later, I just can roll my eyes at myself. I really overwhelmed myself thinking I had to do so much. And overwhelming myself, and so I stuck her into kindergarten, and then my Bubba, I stuck him into pre-K, and so that year got over, and I was like, you know what, I'm not going to do this again. I'm going to feel secure. And to be honest, I didn't have a large homeschool support group. The co-op I tried to participate in, most of their children were older, so I was coming in with younger children, and I had a hard time finding just like, you're doing enough, don't worry. And so I put him into, so I got done with that second year, and I was dedicated. I was going to get this done. I was not going to quit. Well, the following year, my daughter was first grade. I had a kindergartner, and my husband decided in December I should go and work, which was kind of shocking. What he really meant was I should work for him and his business, but I knew better, and I was like, fine. So he had me put the children into school in January, and then I got a job in February. Quickly, it wasn't but a couple weeks, and he realized he didn't like that lifestyle at all. He'd rather go with less than to deal with the joys of being in somebody else's system in the schooling, and he didn't really care for the change in the attitude of the children so quickly. So I told him, I said, I don't want to look like the crazy woman pulling my kids in and out of the public school system. We have to wait till the end of the year, and then we'll pull them back out. So full time was when my daughter entered second grade, and we haven't gone back, nor will we ever go back. But it was really hard overcoming the insecurities and not really having that network of support that I probably should have had. So right now, my daughter is finishing 4th grade, so we've been homeschooling full-time for 3 years. Which is really kind of still a baby homeschooler. If you count those years that I feel like I just crashed and burned, 6 years. But I have a 10-year-old who is in 4th grade. I have a 9-year-old in 3rd grade. I have a 7-year-old finishing 1st grade. I have a 5-year-old going into kindergarten. I have a 2-year-old running around causing mayhem, which you often hear or see in my videos. And then I have a brand new precious baby girl that's 3 months old. Why did I decide to homeschool? I knew I wanted to homeschool from the very beginning. A lot of the reasons I will tell you is based upon my own education. I was, if you're familiar with the 80s, in the public school elementary system, I was part of the Chapter 1 program to learn to read. In 2nd grade, I actually had a teacher who was willing to keep me after school once a week to help bring me up, and I still couldn't read. I did Sylvan Learning Center, and I clocked in easily over 100 learning hours. And I will tell you, I got out of school and I could read every word, but I could not tell you what any of it meant. I went to college. I was very aggravated when I did my first semester at the community college because I felt like I had learned more in 3 or 4 months than I had learned in the last 4 years. So at that point, my feelings towards high school was very low. Community college was very easy. Classes are very hand-delivered, spoon-fed to you. I went to the university, first semester almost flunked out. And my problem was I couldn't read. I would sit in class. If I missed class, I wasn't passing the class. And it was very deterring to me, and it was very aggravating. I felt like I was a fake student. I didn't really feel quite good enough because I couldn't kind of keep up grade point average. I had an amazing professor who wanted me for graduate studies because I can talk. I'm an engineer who can talk. And I managed to get into, with a lot of polling and a lot of persuasion on her part, I got into graduate school. And she really changed my life and taught me to read. And once I learned to read, I really, not really just learned to read, I could read words, but really reading with comprehension, changed it all for me. And that really empowered me. And at that point, I don't really see the point of sending my kids to school when I realized the biggest thing and the best tool you can have is reading comprehension. So that is very important to me. So because of that is really why I decided to homeschool. And I really like my kids, to be honest. I love my kids. I enjoy being with them. Now, I'm going to tell you, there's days I need a break. But I love my kids. And, I mean, to imagine them gone all the time, there's too much to do here at home. That I can't imagine them being gone all the time. We'd never get anything done, and I can't. It just, to be honest, doesn't seem like a fun place. I don't want to be somewhere I have to be, you know. I don't want to be somewhere that you have no choice, you have to sit through it. And why would I want to put my kids through that? When we can just, and I mean, the whole point is to go there and learn. Well, they can do that here. So we're good. What is my philosophy on my homeschool approach? Now, this is a bit different. It did take me a while to find my philosophy. My philosophy is to my children that it is their responsibility to become educated. It is my responsibility to give them the skills, to give them the resources, and to hold them accountable to learn. So the things I find in the way we homeschool is I look for things that they can almost teach themselves. Now, skills, I make sure they know how to read. So the first 2 years, I work heavily with them. After that, I expect them to learn, and it is their responsibility. It is my job to make sure it gets done. How would I describe my homeschool curriculum? I've used a lot of curriculums to try and find what works for. I believe you need to find what works best for you as a mom. So for me, I like to find independent work because I like to hold my children responsible separately, not as a group, because my number one child can't control anything her brother's doing, you know, and he decides not to work. And he has days where he just doesn't want to work. and he's having himself a full meltdown, and that's okay because it's not affecting her work. So I describe my work as pretty much independent, very much work text based. It's essentially a textbook within the workbook, so everything they need is in there. It's very portable in case we need to go somewhere. They can take it, and we do take it. We take it to the bowling alley. I would love to say it was project based, but it's not. I try to make sure that their work can get done quickly and easily, and then they can go about and do their thing. I gotta take care of baby. Okay, how better. So, where do my kids get their schoolwork done? For now, my kids get it done in the kitchen dining room. We don't have a very big house for the 8 of us. So our dining room serves as catch-all, eating, and school. I have a piano next to it with a bookcase. We keep everything we're working on there. It's cramped, which is also another reason why I like to keep my curriculum that size-wise minimal and not like stacks and stacks and stacks of books that we need to have out with us, or big textbooks. We're hoping, if you look at one of my older videos, I did get a construction trailer, 12 by 48, so I'm hoping that we'll eventually move out there. And a lot of that has to do with just getting us out of the daily grind of kind of being within a small space, but also the fact that we can spread our work out and not have to worry about picking it up for breakfast and picking it up for dinner and picking it up for lunch, or somebody got into it who shouldn't have when we weren't looking. So we do hope to one day have a separate place outside the house to school, and we're on 10 acres, so we have plenty of room. Do you participate in extracurricular activities? Yes, my kids do. Don't worry about that socialization. They get plenty of socialization. My children participate in 4-H, which has been amazing. They actually did presentations and did really well and got to go up to district, so not a bad job. They participate in clubs. We participate. 4-H has been kind of amazing. I love 4-H. I was a 4-H'er as a kid. And there's a lot of great opportunities that are really child-led. And you can get a lot of opportunities that you would probably be looking for in a public school or a school setting. You can actually get it in 4-H. And you can do it based upon your timeline. So I like that. And there's a lot of evaluations that happen in 4-H, so you get great productive criticism, which I think is very important for a child to learn. Also, we participate in church, at our church, and so they do the Wednesday Night Awanas program, which is pretty cool too, because that's also merit-based on memorizing Bible scriptures. So they participate quite a bit, a little co-op, which is mostly a play date. Things I would love to participate in is kind of a sports situation, but I have a lot of kids and it costs a lot of money, but I don't actually have a lot of time yet. So I'm working on hopefully starting a bowling league for homeschoolers, and I would love my children to have access to music. And where we're at, there's only a few people who teach it, and getting in with them has been difficult. So I hope to add that on later. Did you get any positive or negative support from your family, friends, and community? My family at first was a bit like, why? They're going to be weird. They're going to be unsocialized. They're not going to be that, all the stigmatisms that the world is kind of pushing on us was exactly what was coming out of my family's mouth. It took them about 2 years. No, it took them about a year. And they were in shock. And they actually say they've now come to realize homeschool children are much more likable because they can interact. And they're not like, ooh, do I talk to you? But I've had both. I get a lot of negative. Back to support from my family. I have had both positive and negatives. Usually it's the typical, I don't know how you do it all. You are going to, I had the last baby and I had a family member said you are going to put them back, you're going to put them in school because you can't do this. And it's funny, it's like, I can do this. So sometimes it runs into, on the support basis, there's a lot of people who don't realize what it takes to do it, and they assume it's such an impossible task because I have different age children, and so they'll kind of project their fears onto me. That happens a lot. I will say I didn't really have positive or negative support, but within the homeschool community when I first started, it just didn't feel like there was another homeschool mom I could gravitate towards. And having another homeschool mom that you can gravitate towards is huge, or having a couple. So, yeah, I would say I've had both negative and positive. I can't really think of like one exact thing at the moment. But they do eventually come around. Our community, our surrounding community has come around. I mean, they like my kids. We've been able to raise some amazing kids, and my son can go to the men's prayer breakfast when it happens during the season, and the men love him. My daughter sits in with some of the adults for a couple things, and it's just been amazing. Number 9, do I work outside my home schooling life? No. God bless the women who do. I don't know how. But then again, it's my fears, because the extent of my working outside my homeschool is YouTubing for you. But I don't. I've tried. Hasn't worked out well. Best advice for other moms? Just do it. You can do this. It is not that hard. YouTube has amazing resources. Pinterest has amazing resources. But if you're going to start out, go buy a box curriculum. And buy a box curriculum for your first year that requires the least amount of work for you. So, for all my Becca lovers, just close your eyes. Don't go with a Becca. That is teacher intense. Go to KathyDuffyReviews.com, I believe it is. Oh, I know. I'm going to take care of it. And she'll kind of lay out each curriculum, but try and find a very low teacher intense curriculum and just get that and go from there. You don't have to invent the wheel. And just jump in, both feet, and just realize you're just learning with them the first year. And they're going to be okay. Even if you feel like they didn't learn what you thought they should learn, they're going to be okay. And you'll get better with the second year. So that's my bio. That's my interview. And I can't wait to share those 10 questions with another mom and bring them to you.